we'll take the first questions. But before we go there, you were very much on the traditional industries, Mairita, but all in all, most of us here at least are talking about digital service and digital services footprints and the ecological friendliness. And you were good at some point saying, what do you think about Bitcoin? But all in all, is it digital services footprint anything of an interest in general terms? Do we need to work on that?
You, me?
Well, if we care about the climate, when we start, I think any effort matters. If we can reduce something just by a tiny bit, we should go for this, because we don't have a lot of time for that. And if we see an evidence-based solution that helps us reduce anything by even the tiniest bit, I say go for it.
And I think I can pass this with, I don't have exact data of the role of digital services inside of whole global climate impact, climate footprint. But if we do not change it, this part is going to increase in future. So one thing is what we have now, and we can say, oh, we are only a tiny part of it, why should we do anything? But in future, if the rest of the industries reduce their carbon footprint, digital services will increase. And as you are a growing industry, your impact will increase even more. It's like when we speak about plastics, and sometimes people say that plastic and climate change, plastic is only a small part of the climate impact we have. But if you look at future tendencies, it's going to increase. So you should work now, not to find yourself in trouble in future.
Yeah, well, because I think that we can all agree that like 100 years ago, the footprint of digital services was zero.
Yeah.
There were none.
Yeah.
So we definitely are growing, and that's kind of also was the SK's question: are we inherently evil thanks to that? Because we are creating something that wasn't there. We are creating a new footprint of something, and how to justify that. But we have
I think one important thing to know that if you know, at the end of the 19th century, there was this movement called the Luddites, and I see a lot of people being like neo-Luddites, being against technology. I just want to point out I'm not against technology. I'm all pro-technology and pro-progress, but we have just, to make our informed decisions.
Yeah, this is, I think before we can validate anything further, I have to ask the question that is here.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, Goda, how can we know that you are not an electric car manufacturer saying a musket packet?
Oh my! I will screenshot this question definitely. Well, I spent 40 minutes talking about how to check disinformation and information, and you should just go for it and use the tools that I provided you with. And if you see that I'm working for Elon Musk or any other crackpot, then just let me know. But I'm not.
Would you work for Elon Musk? And if not, then why not? Aren't you maybe just not asked so far?
Well. With his recent claims about Ukraine and Russia, about Ukraine staying neutral and all, well, I think you heard the disputes on Twitter. With his recent claims against vaccines and with going to Joe Rogan and supporting people like Jordan Peterson or so on, I don't think that that I would let myself do that. But of course, if Elon Musk would come and say, hey, Goda, I want you. I have never been in this situation.
Exactly.
But
you never know.
My principles, I don't know. He's anti everything that I'm promoting, so that would be kind of weird, wouldn't we?
And if I can put a coin about electric cars and Elon Musk, I don't think any of us are promoting electric cars as the solution for transport sustainability. It's not going to solve our problems.
And no one solution.
Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of them.
Good. We are all warmed up for the next question. What is the most stupid environmental argument you have ever seen? Most stupid environmental argument ever seen?
When people claim that something is natural beers are natural, everything is natural. So saying that something is natural doesn't mean anything. So when I hear people, oh, this is natural, bacteria and viruses are natural, but you don't hear people praising bacteria or viruses for that. So I would say it's calling everything, saying that what's natural, that's automatically somehow good.
I think I can go, like, I know this direction and I dislike it. I have a picture of products being sold as no bio or natural soap, no chemical substances in it. So I don't know how do you make a soap that doesn't have a chemical structure, but okay. But I would go in a different direction. What really gets on my nerves are Elon Musk type of people who are saying, well, we can always move to Mars, and who are offering kind of these extra technological solutions that are saying we are not going to have to change anything, technology will save us. Yes, technology will help, but there is not going to be a magical solution that's going to save us.
I think this is very rare. I work with space technology and space exploration, and claims like this is very, very rare, because usually we use this option as plan B, for instance, to go to to Mars in case of anything. It's like in the future generations, we need a plan B, but it's not like we can mess this planet up so we can leave to Mars.
Yeah, to create some new mess there.
Yeah. I mean, to mess up Martian environment.
My personal contribution to that discussion is I don't know if any Norwegians are here, but I really haven't understood the Norwegian argument that we are going to electric cars fully, like first ever country anywhere, the country that survives on oil. So it's really kind of a weird argument. Not stupid, it's a good argument, it's nice.
Well, they have a lot of money and a lot of stupid arguments as well.
So I hope that they have some explanation how that kind of makes up in their mind that is kind of makes the world better. If Norwegians don't drive oil-fueled cars, but the others will use the Norwegian oil for that. Mairita, you have a personal question as well, so not Goda only. How difficult was it to live without producing any plastic waste? What were the things you had to change or missed out during the month? So you had some month, I understand, of without plastic, and then your experiences are now that...
It's an international activity, Plastic-Free July. If you look it up, you can find it. Basically, it's a month where people, you can check, you can pick your level and make your own kind of objectives. But the main idea is to reuse as little plastic as possible. And what I did was I didn't buy anything in plastic packaging. It was very ironic that on 1st of August, first Zero Waste shop in Riga was opened. So after spending this month just looking for options in the market, in supermarkets, I was able to do it. Now it would be much easier. And what I did take away from all of this story, and what actually was the last push to go more from individual action towards common collective actions and responsibility of companies, was what happened after the July, the first thing I bought in plastic packaging. It was, I think, a week already in August, and I had made my perfect plan. I took my salad to my work, and I had an idea that there's this place downstairs where you can buy bread in your own bag, because I kind of knew all these places where you can get things packaging free. And I went there with my bag, very happy, and due to technical reasons, the place was closed. So I had two choices. Do I eat only salad and go hungry for the rest of the day? And I didn't really feel like doing it, and I don't really think that sustainability is about suffering or feeling bad, because if you are kind of feeling bad while being sustainable, you are doing it wrong. Yeah. So I went to the local supermarket and I bought a bread in plastic packaging, and I was eating it, and that was the moment I asked myself, should I feel guilty about it? And I don't think I should feel guilty about it. So yes, that's what I took away from this month, that you have to work on systemic solutions.
But did you actually miss out on something really meaningful that you can recall?
During that month, I think no, because I kind of actually did a bit of investigation work and I buy things before. I was only hoping I will not finish my salt during this month, because we didn't find salt without plastic packaging. So that was my worry for the month. But for the rest, I kind of managed to live. It's very funny when I go to people's houses, like normal people's houses, and then they apologize to me for the things they have on the table, saying, well, this came into plastic, I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't care, it's your home, and I'm not this crazy plastic person. But usually if I see crisps like potato chips, I eat them, because I don't buy them myself, but if I see them, I eat them.
Yeah, I will again try. There are good questions, both for them. I will come back to them. But question from the presentation, especially yours, Goda, that we really tried to understand some of the footprints that we have, as I explained, and to be honest, we understood that it is almost impossible to calculate anything out.
Yeah.
So even to the claims that you said, like one email is this, like there was no good reference really. We like general reference what it takes to send one SMS out, which is part of our service, and to have some CO2 emissions attached to that doesn't exist. The next one, we have server room full of stuff that don't have anywhere stated carbon footprint on the production. So how do we actually get to the point where we understand what we have in the digital services, and what is the way how you find it out? All right. Somehow you found out that email is X.
Yeah, these numbers usually are quoted by different scientists, for instance, from Cornell University. And of course, these are approximate estimations because, as you said, it's impossible to be super, super precise. So that's why we always say up to 50 grams, something like that. And to any conference that I go, usually there are people who say, oh, we're almost breaking the code. We have the formula to calculate individual carbon emissions or anything like this, and that never happened. Maybe some gadgets will help, because people are creating gadgets that you can stick to your car or your bike or any of the, how to say, device or tool that you use every day, and maybe that can be calculated. Sometimes they take like the general number and calculate how much devices or how much people are using them, and then they get approximate numbers. But it's a huge problem, because it's difficult to have an evidence-based decisions if we only have approximate numbers. So probably one thing is, I don't know, push data companies, push energy companies. What would be your recommendation? Because everybody's talking about formulas, but we don't have them yet somehow.
And you have to understand the scope as well, because always it's a question, what are you responsible for, and what do you include in your calculations, and what's the responsibility of others? Like, do you include all the production of servers already, or just the sending? And if so, you have to imagine how many messages your server will send in order to divide the whole impact of the server in these messages. So there are a lot of tiny details how to make the calculations precise. Because I love life cycle assessment, but I don't think there's a magical solution how to do this kind of things, because you will always have, even if you have the perfect formula, you will always have to make some assumptions regarding future, regarding future most of all.
Yeah.
But it's a bit back to the car change, like if we change the servers in a server room or storage, or if we move from one server room everything to the cloud, and like, really to understand what did we do. Like, I think a lot of us do that kind of decisions on a daily basis, like how do we understand what we just did?
Yeah.
Is it good or is it bad? Like how to treat that? Do you have any suggestions to the audience?
I don't know what companies usually do. The best way is to hire research institutes and scientists, and then they try to estimate them. But yeah, it's again an estimation. But
this
it's
is called guesstimate.
Yeah. Yeah, usually, because as we said, it's impossible to be super precise, and as well there's errors, but you can see the tendencies. Is it reducing, or is it increasing or decreasing? So, yeah, I would say always trust the scientific method.
And how does it make you feel? If it makes you feel good, do it anyway. No?
Well, I don't think that feelings should be guiding us, especially when it comes to taking action. But of course, probably feeling positive and feeling that you contributed to something, it helps, it motivates you to, as you said, if you're feeling terrible about your sustainability, you won't keep being sustainable for a long time. But if you feel amazing, like I do when I'm communicating science, when I'm talking about scientific method to people, it seems like I'm never burning out. I just love talking about that.
And once you're not isolated, you have to look at the things you do in the bigger context. Like here it was mentioned, like CO2 footprint of Estonia, that it's a lot bigger and comes from the mix of energy they are using. So if you have to look at what will happen. For example, if you make a lot of reduction in energy use, at the same time that energy mix is becoming more sustainable, your carbon footprint will go down, but it's not like it will have an impact on you, and you might have reduced your carbon impact even without switching to a new, more energy efficient system. So there's a lot of...
I think that's a good place where you're a political person, at least to some extent. Then the country's footprint, what sense does it make? Countries don't have climate. Countries don't make sense in that regard as well. We are selling this electricity we are producing to Latvia, Lithuania.
Yeah.
So what is the point of having those country-based measurements? How does it help? Like, how does it help if we stop producing energy in Baltics, buy it in from Russia? We have like much smaller footprint in the Baltics, and then what? What good is it for the overall goal?
I think you should never run just for an objective without looking at the big picture. But I think the idea is not to buy energy from Russia. It's become more sustainable on a local level. But you need to have, I think, to have countries responsible for their carbon footprint is much more logical than calculate footprint for an individual person. Because
I agree, of course, yeah.
Because the decision-making process of countries and the companies, it's much bigger, and countries can impact their carbon footprint. If we are not going to compare carbon footprint of country per capita, what can we compare? And once more, you can go into details. Like, for example, I think that you should include consumption of the country as well, not only not production. Because in this case, we in Europe, we are doing very, very good while importing things from the rest of the world. So,
yeah, and also example also helps. For instance, Denmark has been investing into wind energy and showing example that you can use scale using wind energy, even if your sea is not very, how to say, wind energy friendly, but they manage this. And now a lot of countries that are around the Baltic Sea as well, like Lithuania, and politicians are the ones pushing this effort, so to say. As we saw during the pandemic with vaccines, we have a lot of legal regulations how a vaccine can be distributed in the country, but since it was emergency and politics and lawmakers, they somehow united, they found the ways to distribute the vaccines on time. So this should be, I heard this from one Lithuanian entrepreneur, that it actually should be the same with renewable energy. With we should, how to say, we should be faster and have less bureaucratic,
The audience has asked a question, I think, that was relevant in the context of the countries. and is the capitalism at all able to be sustainable? Like if the countries have to take the responsibility instead of the companies. So the question is capitalism as a model at all able to be sustainable? Really fundamental small issues we have here.
Yeah.
Can we go back to what did I do in plastic-free July? It was easy.
Can we go back to emailing? We don't have anything better as of now. So, I mean, what's the point? We should sort out the problems, the real problems that we have now, instead of being too rhetorical or too theoretical, because system may break. We may have a new form of handling money, so currency or anything rather than capitalism. I wonder what would Marx say about that, but we have this now, so I don't see it collapsing, unfortunately, at least in my lifetime.
Thankfully, from my side, of course.
Yeah. And I think we have to make a difference between total free market and capitalism. Yeah. There has to be a state intervention and state norms, and all the companies, I think, agree on it. Like I've had discussions on changes of policies on national and local level, and what I hear from companies is that they are in favor for more sustainable requirements if they are made for all the participants in the markets. They don't, a lot of companies and once more, I don't know about your sector, but I know that in retail and in food industry, they are saying, yes, we want more requirements for sustainability if they are mandatory for all. We don't want to be the first ones to carry out the costs of transition. If we are ready, if everybody does it. So, yeah.
But then back to the examples of real life that you know outside of July as well, good examples. Like Mairita, what is actually a good example, but same goes to Goda. Good example, do you know who actually has made a big effort to become a sustainable business provider, who has made real changes and good marketing?
Well, if I have to mention one, as I stated already.
Can have two, okay.
One. Okay, one would be Patagonia. It's a really good company of textile industries that's looking at this whole circle of things, and they produce their products really in a sustainable way. They offer kits for fixing, like if your jacket breaks, you have a kit to fix it yourself. They have instructions on how to do it. You can send it back for recycling. They make guarantees that your product will last for a long time. They produce it responsibly, so they do it all. And then there are companies who are opening markets for new products and new ideas. For example, you in Estonia. Like we Latvians, as you know, we always like to compete with Estonians. And even here outside, when I came here, I saw like 6 green announcements in different shops. But what I saw was Ringos that you have here. And it's a good company that's actually quite innovative for Europe, and in general very innovative, offering usable plates for industry, for food services. So they are a good example as well.
Goda, anything in your mind?
I wanted to mention Patagonia as well. It's one of the best recent examples. But to add to that, I think all of the trend-setting companies who show how to break the status quo in the market, who decide to switch step by step to renewables, for instance, it's very important because we need positive examples, and every company wants to be like Google, you know, for their employee to be like such a cool company with, you know, sleeping rooms and so on, and good conditions and amazing employee branding, of course. So we need trend-setting companies. So every trend-setting company and every company that is changing our behavior. For instance, in Lithuania, we have this company, Vinted. They are encouraging people to sell their clothes, so we buy second-hand clothes, and it's becoming more and more convenient. And I'm against fast fashion, so I'm very happy that you mentioned H&M. And it's one of it's super convenient tool just to go and buy stuff that you need online that is used instead of, you know, throwing it away or anything.
I think here we should mention Fairphone as well. It's a good company in the technical industry. So basically it's a Netherlands-based company, and they produce mobile phones, but they do it once more in a responsible way. So first of all, they use recycled materials for production of their mobile phones, and they offer. And the phone is modular, so basically if you break your screen, you can order it and you don't have to bring it anywhere. It's very easy to change it in your home. And they have an idea to make it even more modular, so you can upgrade your phone and buy a better camera instead of buying a new phone. So once more, this is a company that's kind of making a small revolution in technical and IT world.
Yeah, Google started that project some time ago and then forgot about it.
Yeah. Trend setting.
Yeah, I have also a question, wondering, Kalev, is smart ID possible without having plastic ID card first in the future? No, it's now. Like we are bringing the future to now, so you can have the smart ID with a passport. No plastic there, maybe. Well, there is some chip inside in a passport.
Is it installed by Bill Gates?
Hopefully by a government that you belong to, probably. They have done that for you. So yeah, it is kind of, without plastic card, it is possible. Again, not, as I said, always the first identity creator takes the hit. Like the passport still is a very heavy thing. Like you still have to go somewhere physically to show who you are. Give your fingerprints, have your face scanned somewhere in a secure environment. And more so, even the countries where you currently can maybe send your photo are more and more deciding that it has to happen in a secure environment. And this is kind of a security issue, not so much a sustainability issue. Yeah. And maybe we trade one day the security to sustainability from the global perspective. But at the moment, that's how it goes. So you can have, without plastic card, a smart ID, if that's... but the smart ID itself, again, resides on the phone, which is... can be done better than mine, I understand. But still, it is a huge amount of plastic.
Well, I'm not against plastic. Actually, plastic is a fantastic material. If you look at all these cables, they are covered in plastic. It's not for a textile, what we wear, it's plastic. It's not as good, but still. The problem with plastic is when we take materials that's going to last forever, and we make single-use products out of it, and we make squares to put between slices of cheese out of it. So 40% of the whole plastic that we are using is going for packaging, and that's the problematic part. Plastic, when used in a logical way, where it's necessary and where it helps, I think it's a good material. So it's not like the plastic no to everything.
But there is a plastic question I can ask you then already. You went to the plastic very nicely, and the plastic question, and maybe because of your video, so is recycling your trash, mainly plastic packaging, worth it or not?
I actually saw a recent study that recycling as a concept failed, but...
already in the past, it failed already?
Now, I mean, has failed.
Current one?
Yeah. So
we have a new one
I think it only worked by 5%, or the estimation was that, now scientists are arguing about that, so, well, not very good news.
What is your take on it? Is it worth it?
Plastic recycling, yes, and yes, you have to recycle, you have to do your part. But usually we ask the wrong question, like what is asked and what I'm usually asked, and they're usually correct when this question is asked. Like, the question is, it's not the responsibility of people. We should not teach people to recycle. We should deal with the companies. The issue is not the people who do not sort their waste, because what we see in Riga, when we put certain norms in place, we increase the amount of separated waste from in 2 years from 90% to now 30%. So people want to sort their waste, and when they have opportunity to sort, they do it. The problem is we do not think about recyclable packaging. We don't give enough motivation, both carrot and how do you call it in English? Like we don't use push and pull factors for companies. Yes, stick and carrot for companies to produce recyclable packaging. And they, as I mentioned there, they are not aware of what actually is recyclable. And then we don't have enough market for recycled materials. Virgin plastic, it's still in many cases cheaper, in most of the cases it's cheaper and easier to obtain than recycled plastic. If plastic recycling would be economically viable and interesting, all of us would be taught how to recycle and companies would be fighting for our waste. Currently they do it because we have to do it, but what's the easiest way for them to gain money would be just to bring unsorted waste to somewhere.
Okay. So it's a capitalism that should work here. Ways of making money.
Yes. We should both work on making packaging, first of all, reducing amount of packaging and using it responsibly, then using recycled and recyclable packaging.
Yeah, we have an excellent question. Why do you have plastic bottles on the stage? Because they were brought here. And as you see, we have been very scared of opening them.
Yeah, I did.
I have my reusable
but I would say
bottle
that again, this is not against plastics. Plastics are good. They are keeping the water in, and we are not feeling wet, at least. So there are some good things with the plastics as well. Yeah. I think that the experience with the biggest change in the company is pretty much the same as this good example. I will say that we answered that. Mairita, how the wave was also covered. Covering the electricity demand from wind and solar only in Baltics is not possible, is claimed here. Mm-hmm. What is your take on nuclear? Like Lithuanians know nuclear well, so...
Yeah, sadly, not nuclear. And I know I represent scientific and academic community, and I know that scientists are supporting nuclear power. We have problem with waste, with nuclear waste, but if we put enough effort, we will think of waste. I mean, humans are creative, and we are a curious species, and we always find a solution. So if scientists working with this topic are saying we should go for nuclear power, I don't have any reasons or evidence to state otherwise. So yes, I support that as well.
I would say I'm all in favor of using existing capacity, and I'm against closing stations that still can produce energy. I would be really on the fence regarding building new ones, like how much time and how much money does it take. And then once more looking at Ukraine, yes, energy itself, it's safe, but we see what's going on in nuclear stations in Ukraine and how these stations can be used in not really good ways.
But this is not the energy itself, it's how the terrorists, meaning
yes, but
Russia use it, not the energy, not how green the energy is.
But we should take risk factors into account as well.
So not fully aligned in that sense. Very good.
Yeah.
This is like this is a good panel. That's how it should be.
As I said, up to a certain point,
it's proper discussion.
As up to a certain point, it's very numbers. Yes, they see that, but at one moment you have to put in your personal priorities and other factors that you cannot express in numbers. Like how can you put a number on safety in case of war?
At the same time, digital services require more electricity all the time. We want to build more digital services into Baltics. We don't want to host everything somewhere abroad, because that's also a business. So the electricity, I think, scarcity is scary from the digital services point of view. If we don't have sustainable electricity system,
Yeah.
like then actually the businesses are going away, and then we don't have security from the point of view of economy in the future.
And again, when we have a problem, we are switching out to fossil-powered electricity, like
Yeah,
a lot
which
of
we
times.
do, which we do in Estonia very well.
Yeah.
This is like always switching back if needed. So you do see that actually the electricity need is a thing for the future in our region. But we are currently lacking it. Like in all Baltic states together, we have less electricity production that we seem to be needing in the future.
Yeah.
Something needs to be done other than wind and solar, probably, as was the question, that it probably doesn't cover everything. We have cold winters without any wind.
That we have hydro energy, we have biomass, so you can play with these factors. But really it's up to coming up with numbers, taking into account how technology is going to develop. Can we accumulate energy? Do we have batteries for saving energy when we need it? And yeah, so it's a complex question.
It is, but very shortly question here.
It's funny that people want us to answer these questions.
Yeah, it is good that people are curious about your opinion on that, because there is this kind of a steward's way of, not a question, a comment as well, just for the fun of us. My cat is crazy about paper bags, and there are 8 votes on that. She's like, okay. It's more of a comment than a question.
Yeah, it's better for cat to eat paper than
Yeah.
plastic.
So, but the question here is that how can someone actually know if the peer-reviewed paper study is correct or real, or if there is so much fake information that everyone is an expert? And I think this example of this Nobel laureate, that was an actual laureate that actually had kind of signed off on the paper. There was no lie about that, just that their expertise level was in something different. Like, how do you, as a normal person, how do you grow those capacities?
As I said, asking those 4 questions. For instance, if you have problems with your lungs, you don't go to gynecologist to help you with your lungs. You go to pulmonologist. So we have to narrow down and be very strict with who is talking. And just what evidence the person is using as well, and is this person who is talking an expert in the field, or is the person representing the experts in the field? So, and am I representing Elon Musk or scientists? So that's the question. Love it.
I think question is a bit more complex when you come down to studies such as this Netflix and driving cars. So anytime you see a very big, very shiny, very surprising news, wait for a day or 2 for other experts to read it and to evaluate it. Just don't. If it's too shiny and too breathe.
This amazing astronomer and science communicator, Carl Sagan, I love him. He used to say that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So that's when I said that there is no one magic solution, and you said that as well, and no magic button, and we shouldn't accept that. And if a person is making huge claims, there has to be really, really gigantic evidence for these claims, and not one study, because usually one study is not scientific consensus.
Yeah, maybe we're very skeptical at all about everything already very well, because there was a question here. According to Hava's meaningful brand study, only about 20% of people in Baltics are ready to make personal contribution to save the environment, compared to 60% in Nordics and 40% in Poland. So in the middle are we, with 20%. So why is it that way, and what would change that maybe?
Education.
It would be a good
education, question. Less shaming, less saying, oh, look, plastic bottles on your table, how dare you? But more education, because when people know, they understand it, and they maybe feel, I hope so, they feel motivated about that. And when we don't know, we can be scared about it. We can make uninformed decisions as well. So education is #1, and communication including, but educating people. Maybe nobody asked these people why they are not willing to do that.
Maybe
or did
they
they?
did, but
Yeah.
the short question doesn't
But I
cover
wonder,
that.
because usually people say, oh, only 30% of population are willing to vaccinate, but we are not asking and we are not doing studies to know why these people are not vaccinating or not recycling or not taking any personal efforts regarding climate change. So education and communication.
One thing is education, communication, Mairita.
And I think there's one thing that people hear when they hear this question. They automatically assume that green options are going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
So people can be worried about that. And at least in Latvia, sometimes we have the idea that we are the greenest country in the world or whatever, and or the other story, oh, we are a small country, why should we do something? So there are a lot of not just technical data on sustainability, but common discussion on what it means to be sustainable and why should we do it, to have like a common vision and common understanding.
We unfortunately have to close our fancy panel here because we are running out of time. Final statement, how do we make the Baltics the greenest, the most sustainable region? What do we need to change? Where? Because at the moment we definitely are not there.
Educate.
Educate whom?
People, the society, different groups, because society is not a monolith. It consists of all kinds of different groups, and we have to find the keys to their hearts. We have to start talking to each other, because we need to take action as a humanity now. And
Good.
I think education and communication.
Is there a political solution?
Yeah, as a political, yes, we have a lot of things that we can do as in politics, and as you said, voting is very important. That what is the things that we vote for, and what do we ask from politicians? And I think it would be this huge move towards renewable energies, because it's not only energetic independence from Russia, it's renewable energies that we should be moving towards. And yeah, I think with that, in case of climate, it would be a huge step forward. And then there are a lot of smaller things in other environmental aspects that we can do. But basically, it's putting sustainability as core of politics.
Thank you for that. Coming back to the voting. So everybody to the voting. I thank you, the panelists. To give you some not one-time usable bags. Thank you very much. It was great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.